Good morning, it's Jeremy. It's Friday, November the 5th, and I'm just down at Toronto Harbourfront here, looking out over to the island airport there. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at AIS and ADS-B. So there's my setup there. I have my laptop, and this is my whip antenna from the version 1 RTL. And what I've done is I've got an adapter from MCX to SMA, and I'm going into a version 2 RTL. The reason is I want to have zero frequency error. So I'm going to use this for my ADS-B at 1090 megahertz. And there's my whip antenna going into a version 3 RTL, which is under here. And that goes into USB as well. And I'm going to use that for the AIS. So right now on the screen, I've got a bunch of AIS contacts. I'm running AIS decode, giving the AIS, and I'm going to use MULTIPSK for the ADS-B. Good morning, it's Jeremy. It's Friday, November the 5th. I'm just down at Harbourfront here, and I'm looking at my screen. I've got AIS deco running, and there's a lot of stuff here. And what I'm doing is I'm showing the AIS contacts here on OpenCPN. And if you look at the connections here, I've got my AIS coming in on localhost for port 4149. 4159 is UDP. So those are all the various contacts. There's Empire Sandy, WM Thornton. There's a whole bunch of Cinnamon. A whole bunch of people here. Let me spread this out a little bit. And Arcane. So there's lots of AIS contacts. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get MULTIPSK working to decode the ADS-B. And we have to be careful there because we want to make sure we don't cross our COM ports and USBs. Okay, so now we're looking at OpenCPN, and I've got both the AIS and I've got the ADS-B working. There is an ADS-B contact. It's a red boat because it represents the NEMA data. And you can see here I've got the NEMA debug window on. So those are all my, you can see the AIS and the NEMA information in there. The NEMA information contains the latitude and the longitude. So the red boat popping in and out is a plane flying around this area. These yellow and green triangles are the AIS contacts. Now it's a little bit buggy. I guess some of these contacts, there it is, there's the contact popping in and out there. I have to play with this a little bit. This is the first time I've done this. But anyways, it's a start. So we can see our AIS information, and we can see a little bit of the ADS-B. It's not perfect. Okay, so in the previous video, we were down at Harbourfront, and we were looking at capturing ADS-B packets and AIS packets at the same time and displaying them on the same chart. This application would be useful. Let's say you were on an oil rig or an exploration rig and you needed to see what ships were in the vicinity or what helicopters were coming in to land on your platform. So just to give you a bit of a background of how we set up the ADS-B, I'm just sitting at home here, and this is the setup I use. There's the RTL-SDR. That's the version 1. It's got an error of about plus 20 ppm. The other ones are pretty good at like 0 to 1, but this one it has about a 20 ppm, so you have to take that into consideration. And there's my antenna. It's the magnetic whip, the 15 centimeter whip, and it's sitting on a lamp stand, and it's pointing out the window, which is pointing due west. And believe it or not, I can get a lot of transmissions coming in the window because planes are approaching Pearson just west or just to the east of me into the Pearson airspace. So I get a lot of pickup. So there's the computer there, and I have a USB hub down here, so the RTL and USB stick is plugged in there into my computer. So now, as I said, this is the latest release that just came out just a couple of days ago. It's 4.45.4. Okay, so I'm using the RTL-SDR, so you're going to have to activate these keys here, and I'm going to control it from MULTIPSK. So you need direct via the sound card plugged in here. What's really nice here is all you have to do is mouse over one of these boxes and it tells you exactly what it does. There's also a very good manual in there. So to get the data into, we're going to use OpenCPN. To get the data in there, we're going to have to use a virtual serial port. So right now, I'm just going to set this serial port at none, just to start off with. Okay, and then we're going to open the screen. So there we are. Since I've got about 20 parts per million of error, that works out to about 20 kilohertz. I've adjusted this frequency down. The normal frequency is 1090. I've adjusted it down to 1089, 980. So that's my transceiver or the SDR control here. You can see we're getting lots of information there. So the first thing we can start off by doing is let's, I'm going to open that. Let's just press this box here. It says display all the received ADSB positions on Google Earth. So let's do that, see what it looks like on Google Earth. Okay, so I'll press that in. There we go. So it opens Google Earth. So there we go. We can see all our activity there. This yellow dot is my location, VE3PKC. So you can see there's a whole bunch of activity there. Again, Google Earth, you need an internet connection for that. So let's close that. So we're going to close Google Earth. I'm going to open that box up there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open OpenCPN. So there's OpenCPN. I'm going to go into connections here, and I'm going to add a serial connection here. So add a connection, serial. We're going to pick serial port 4. Apply. Okay. And also I'm going to use the debug window so we can see that. So we're going to show the debug window. Okay, so let's go back to MULTIPSK. Now we have to select, what's happening in here is all this information can be sent out, but we have to use a virtual COM port. So there's a program called COM0COM, which we'll look at in a second. It's created a virtual COM port 3 and 4. So we're going to connect this to COM port 3, and it's going to talk to COM port 4 on OpenCPN. When I first started this, I had connected COM port 3 on both, and what happened was Windows 10 went into alarm mode, and I got all sorts of, not a blue screen, but all sorts of frightening windows, so you don't want to do that. So make sure you pick different COM ports. So let's see now. If I press GPS, it'll probably say that I don't have a port selected. Okay, so I got to go to my configuration screen now, and I'm going to select COM port 3 because I picked 4. I picked 4 on OpenCPN, so I'll start that again. And I'll press GPS now. So what that's doing is it's taking the ADSB packets, all this information here, and taking the latitude and longitude and putting them into the NEMA format so I can see it on OpenCPN. So let's go into OpenCPN. So there's my debug window. So what I'm seeing here, so there's all the information. I'm seeing a bunch of red boats. So the red boats are actually the aircraft, and that's their position there.